Hello, welcome. Thank you as always for joining me. We've got a very, very interesting topic of conversation today. It is directly from a question asked by one of you. So thank you for asking. This is always something that I'm willing to do, and it has great value. So, this is, before we launch into the topic, an open invitation to all of you to ask questions if you've got them. We're going through the text of A Course in Miracles, and it will still be there in a few days' time when we come back to it. I'm very interested, always, in what's coming up for you live right now. And these questions are so valuable. So if you've got them, please feel welcome to ask them. And by the way, there is no such thing as a question that is too basic or too beginner-ish. In fact, these are the questions that are the best, because there could be somebody who has years of experience with this course that will get it one day based on your question. You may never meet this person face to face in this lifetime, maybe not, but you can positively impact and influence the trajectory of someone on the other side of the world. It is extraordinarily powerful. We're using this tool, the internet, which can disseminate all kinds of stuff, as we know. We're using it to heal the mind right now. That's what's going on. And you can certainly contribute to that. If you have questions, please feel welcome to ask them. And again, thank you for this question, which deals with religious fundamentalism. I know this speaks to a lot of you, and the threat of hell, and the statement, the oft repeated statement in A Course in Miracles, that we have a choice in the present moment between exactly two options, love or fear. We live in one or the other, in fear or in love. And I don't mean in love with a particular person in a special exclusive relationship. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about love as it really is, an all-encompassing abstract concept that is not limited to a union, a state-sanctioned union between exactly two people. Don't get me wrong, I'm very happily married. What I invite you to do with all your relationships is give them over to the Holy Spirit for the purposes of healing the mind. In fact, this is what we're invited to do every moment of every day and in every situation. Give it over to our inner teacher and let him run the show. It's you that's running the show. The Holy Spirit, our inner teacher, call it whatever you want to call it, is part of our mind, not outside you. There is nothing outside you. So yes, we have a choice in the present moment between love or fear. All of the choices that we appear to make here in life as we run around and pay bills and work and eat, sleep, drink water, drink wine, drink other substances, whatever, right? Whatever the case may be. Everything that we appear to choose is, in fact, a derivative of the single choice that we have: love or fear, light or dark, God or the ego, life or death. You could put it that way. Yeah, how about that? truth or illusion, however you choose to characterize that in words. And we do either one or the other. Our suffering here on this spinning ball of rock is a direct result of our attempting to do both at the same time and wondering why we experience life like a roller coaster, up, down. 5 minutes later, up again, feeling great. Oh, something happened, down, even lower than before, if that's possible. Up, down, up, down. We wonder why. We're attempting to choose both. And this course makes it abundantly and perfectly clear we can't have both. And that's why it's said repeatedly that our forgiveness is either total or it's not at all. So it does come down to a present moment choice that we make under the guidance of our inner teacher. And to the extent that you experience extraordinary resistance to the simplicity of this, that is absolutely perfectly normal. And there is nothing wrong with you. This is an experience that we all have on the path. It doesn't matter who you are. We've all had this resistance. It comes up all the time, or we wouldn't still appear to be here. And this conversation would not even be necessary. But because it is, and here we find ourselves, it bears repeating over and over that the ideas expressed here in the Course in Miracles, which can seem so out there and weird, esoteric, woo-woo, ephemeral, ethereal, and wrong, these ideas are very simple. What do we do with simple ideas in life? We ignore them, unfortunately. But that's what we do. That's what we're conditioned to do. And in so many words, we think this can't possibly be so easy. It can't possibly be as simple as allowing truth to be just as it is. I don't know how to do that. Ask. One of the most powerful prayers that you could ever utter is to ask your inner teacher for help in allowing truth to be just as it is. Here in the world, we appear to experience a lot of obstacles, not the least of which are our conditioned structures and institutions. Among these, maybe for you, your work world, your political systems, your systems of government, and religious systems. So, because the question touches on fundamentalism, a bit of background about this pixelated image on your screen here, this assemblage of electronic dots. I'm fond of saying this because it's the Holy Spirit that's speaking to you. What you're looking at is a constellation of pixels, whatever that actually even is. When something lands for you, it's the Holy Spirit. Yeah, count on that. There's absolutely nothing special at all about this image on your screen, which looks like a middle-aged man from Arizona in the United States. What's so special about that? Nothing, right? At all. It's an image on your screen. I say this in large part to help us all release our iron mental grip on the supposed reality of the body, which we're not. And you know this to be true. There's more to it than this 80% water communication device. that is, of course, highly fallible and eventually loses its umph and goes bye bye. The Son of God does not go bye bye. It can't, you cannot. You know this to be true. Do you accept it? That's a whole nother question. So let's talk about fundamentalist religious traditions. I grew up in two of them. This may inform your experience to a great degree, or perhaps not, but if not, no problem. Everyone's background is different, and part of the beauty of A Course in Miracles is that it is universal in theme, in application. It is a self-study curriculum, not a religion unto itself. It is not a cult. The world does not, certainly does not need another one of those, does it? So there's no hierarchical structure, and the pixelated image on your screen, thank God, is not in charge of you. I don't want to be in charge of you. Everyone's ego is enough for him or her to cope with, isn't it? Yeah. You don't need someone issuing 10 commandments to you, many of which are negatively phrased, thou shalt not. Do whatever you want to do. Just understand, as adults in the spiritual realm, so to speak, that we have a responsibility. And first and foremost, it's to be very, very honest with ourselves. Only you'll know if you're putting the ideas expressed in A Course in Miracles into action. Only you'll really know that. So be honest with yourself. That's all. We all must do that. So, as I grew up in not one but two fundamentalist Christian traditions in the United States, I know that speaks to the experience of a lot of people. A lot of people do come to A Course in Miracles from that background, although, as a universal self study curriculum, any background at all is possible. And it doesn't matter what your background is or is not, or what you're currently practicing or interested in or not. Uh, you're here, so stick around. I mean, there's a reason. There always is. There's a reason why you're here. So, the first fundamentalist tradition my parents left when I was about 8 or so. And then my mom got us, my sister, my younger sister, and I, she got us involved in another. That one I left when I got my driver's license and chose not to go to Sunday school any longer. It was funny because my mom stopped going to this church, yet sent my younger sister and me anyway. Well, by that point, I was able to talk cogently about enough of the Bible to be able to convince her, so I thought at the time, that we studied this in Sunday school today as my sister and I went out for a drive or a hike or out to get coffee somewhere else. I think she knew that we weren't going and eventually chose to let it go. But my point in all of this is I couldn't swallow what I was being proffered. So I did not. Specifically, a massive percentage of the world is doomed because they don't believe as we do. And they're going straight to hell. Many of us have this message absolutely drilled into our heads when we're young, and no wonder it scares us. There were many sermons that I endured, many Sunday school lessons that I sat through with my mind completely disengaged from the subject matter at hand and thinking about pizza or my homework assignment, which I would much rather have been doing than sitting through another lecture about how a massive percentage of the world is doomed to a fiery hell because they're not here with us on Sunday at 11 o'clock. And that building across the street, yeah, no, they're going to hell too. You have to be here specifically. And when that offering basket comes around, open up your heart here to this particular monopoly on truth. Yeah, I never did swallow, reject. Why? It never resonated with me. I was that kid in Sunday school. There are many funny stories about this, the subject of multiple videos, in fact. But every now and then I would pipe up because I just wasn't buying it. I wasn't buying that at the same time people were saying God is love, which is true. You know this to be true. And at the same time, he's jealous. Really? Vindictive? Mm, full of hate? See where I'm going with that. You cannot be both loving and hateful at once. Impossible. I never bought what people were selling that God condemns. Oh, no, never. Impossible. I never bought that. And perhaps you didn't either. So this may very, very well speak to your experience directly. Everybody has their own way of getting away from that inculcation. I would ask questions such as, okay, if God is love, why does he judge and condemn? And the responses never satisfied me. The only response that has ever satisfied me on that is the only one that, when you think about it, is really true. He does not condemn. We do. Perfect love does not extend hatred. It can only extend itself. Love extends love. God extends himself. So I just didn't want to go there. Now, there are many ways that people have dealt with this kind of an upbringing, and what has transpired for you has transpired for you. I simply chose not to return because the answers never satisfied me. And I chose, after the first time being shouted down, I mean, literally, at the dinner table, never to ask these questions of my mom, who simply wanted me to keep my mouth shut and swallow their Kool-Aid. Reject. So, what this constitutes in all of our lives is nothing more and nothing less than an opportunity for forgiveness. Because here, as course students, we learn that anything that is not wholly joyous is, in fact, an opportunity to forgive. Part of this fundamentalist upbringing was a constant threat, the threat of hell, hellfire, bubbling lakes of fire, damnation, fire and brimstone, lakes of superheated lava in which one's soul, whatever that is, bubbles and boils for eternity. because you're not on St. Peter's list and you're bounced trying to get into the cool kids club. There is no pearly gate. To have a gate implies that there's something outside the gate and something inside. It's a separation. Guess what? There is no separation of any kind. I say that all the time. Literal. That is literal. This is a dream. We all know this to be true, and A Course in Miracles is certainly not the only spiritual tradition in the world to posit this. Not at all. Yet we have such a hard time accepting it. So my hope in offering these videos is that it helps you, even if it's just an incremental progress, to accept truth just as it is. There is only perfect oneness. God is, in fact, the only reality, the all, capital A. As the Son of God, all of us, this does not simply refer to the historical Jesus, one person, as Christ. We are the Christ, the thought of God, the Son of God, God's creation. Like extends like. We all know deep down who, what, and where we really are. And it's quite clear it's not this. So here, while it appears to be this, we have this constant threat of hell. And this upbringing, this inculcation, takes a long time to heal sometimes. Now, that's part of what time is for. And everyone that has been raised with this threat of constant hell has their own path, their own journey that may seem long and circuitous, but the message is one and the same wherever you happen to find yourself. This is all about accepting truth just as it is. What's true? God, the all. Son of God is the extension of God. When you look at your brother, you're not looking at a separate person, you're looking at yourself. Capitalize. The all, of which we're all part. It's the all, yeah? Total, eternal, one with God. Not separate, not cast into a pit of lava or a freezing hell. In A Course in Miracles, hell is, well, this illusion right here. It's the apparent condition of being separate from God and from our brother. It's separation itself. Is it not deeply uncomfortable? It is, or we wouldn't be here seeking these answers. We would not need to seek them. But because you're here, understand that the simplicity of this course is disarming. That is the point. Disarm. Because we have all constructed multiple defenses, a wall, a thick wall, a veil, a fog bank, characterize that visually however you want. We have attempted to armor ourselves in an effort to survive. This doesn't last. I give it over to your inner teacher for the purposes of healing the mind, for his purposes. We're invited to do that. So, as a practical matter, we often, very, very often, find it difficult to let our guard down, to release our protective shield. Well, you don't need your protective shield against truth. Truth is not frightening. To the extent that it does frighten you, it is the ego that is frightened. There is no ego. There is no sense of individual, separate other. And no, God did not cast you out of the garden for eating an apple. Because who doesn't like a nice, crisp, juicy, tasty, sweet apple? Doesn't matter if a snake told you to eat it. If the Holy Spirit says, have an apple, have an apple. Yeah. Not a single one of us is a sinner either, by the way. God has no ego to be offended. Think about it. The ego is separation. It's a sense of individual separate self. There is no separation. Therefore, God can't be offended. We're not taught this in any fundamentalist tradition, or even if you grew up in a tradition that was not what we would call fundamentalist. In other words, what I'm saying there is, this is our building and we own the truth. And the rest of you, bye-bye. This is the cool kids club, and we're going to judge you. We're going to pass judgment upon you for not being born in our country. Like you could help that. Yeah. Preposterous. I mean, really, when you think about it. And there's a lot of that going around. Understand, as a practical matter, anything that is not wholly joyous is, in fact, an opportunity for forgiveness. I've done a lot of forgiveness of my fundamentalist religious upbringing. Let it go. I mean, people can still do whatever they want to do. Understand that really, as a practical matter, your forgiveness is for everyone, but it's for you. We do it in our mind. Our own peace of mind has a ripple effect that continues on and on. Why? There is no separation. There's one mind. What you drop on the surface of the pond, say it's a rock that creates a ripple effect. What you put into the pond causes a ripple effect. Why? There is one mind. So what are you sharing with your brother? Love or fear? Anything not wholly joyous is an opportunity to forgive. True forgiveness, we're talking about, as practiced and taught here in this thought system. A Course in Miracles is a thought system. It is it's a curriculum of mind training. Does that sound shiny? Maybe not. Does awakening, the peace of God, sound shiny? Okay, then. There are many ways that we delay ourselves, but that is not necessary. It is not necessary to live in fear, and any time that you feel afraid, that is an opportunity for true forgiveness. And to the extent that you don't do that or wish to do that, it's also an opportunity to call on your inner teacher for help. Please guide me. You may call the Holy Spirit whatever you want. Jesus is the Holy Spirit. You may call the Holy Spirit your guide or guides, plural, if you want to. Those are all simply names. The point is, it is part of our mind. There is nothing outside you. This barrier, this wall that we've erected, we can take it down. That's our choice. If we don't take it down, we live in fear. Of what? Ultimately, It looks like everything, but ultimately we're afraid of awakening. I know. We're afraid of the light, believing it would kill us, really, and cast us into oblivion. Oh no, not possible. What lies beyond the veil is light, it's life itself, it's you, who you really are, and you know who that is. You do know this. I invite you to go there with yourself, and to the extent that fear arises, understand that it is an opportunity to forgive whatever the object of that fear appears to be. It's coming up in your experience for exactly that reason. So we are presented with multiple such opportunities every day. Part of spiritual practice is our becoming aware, present moment awareness of what's right in front of us. Because if it's not wholly joyous, it's an opportunity for forgiveness. If it is wholly joyous, fabulous. Give thanks. It's a symbol of our oneness as Christ, of our limitlessness and joy, beauty, radiance, magnificence, limitlessness. You're waiting for yourself on the other side of this veil, where you've always been. So, will you lift this today, even if just one layer? That is significant, very. Will you remove at least one brick from the wall? You do not need it. If that is all that you feel you're able to do, that is fantastic. There is no order of difficulty in miracles. Removing one brick is the same as removing them all. We often stop ourselves because we think our efforts are small. And we see other people removing more than one brick, and we think, oh man, boy, do I have a long way to go. Well, there is no order of difficulty in miracles. Removing one brick is the same. All, all expressions of love are maximal. Why? Love is maximal. It is the all. And so are you. All right. So I hope that this has helped at least a little bit. Yeah, it's an excellent question. So I thank you for that. And I'm always willing to talk about my own experience growing up, which is just what I went through. And you may have gone through something similar. And as far as the threat of hell, God doesn't condemn. The idea of hell is something that we made up to scare ourselves into conforming to certain kinds of behavior. I mean, think about the use to which that idea has been put in organized religion for many thousands of years. In truth, God is the only reality, not bubbling lakes of fire, not freezing ice fields, and not a room full of human feces where people are standing around drinking coffee. And then the devil, always with a set of horns, a mustache, it seems like, and an evil look on his face, laughs and says, okay, breaks over. It's not like that. Not at all. So I invite you to allow your inner teacher to lead you. He's always patient. and awaits your simple decision to allow him to run the show. I invite you to do just that to the extent today that you're able to do so. So thank you very much for the question. It's an excellent question, as they all are, and I invite those. So if you've got them, please feel welcome to leave them, and I'll work your question into a video right here. And of course, the text of A Course in Miracles is there for your reading enjoyment. I mean, it'll still be there when we get back. Yeah. So if you have not yet subscribed, I want to invite you to do this. What you see here are several videos that appear on a weekly basis. It's a growing international community. And yes, we're studying A Course in Miracles. And it doesn't matter if you're a course student or not, actually. And if you are, it doesn't matter if you've had decades of experience or 10 minutes of experience and anything in between. Yeah. I thank you for joining me, and I will see you all again very soon.